Hey witches, how you doing? For those of you who are new here, I'm Taya and welcome to the channel. And for those of you who are returning viewers, maybe coming in from another video, welcome back. Please consider subscribing and helping us build our channel. Today I wanted to do a really quick I guess a book haul, a book review, just a bunch of books that I've gotten recently that I thought were interesting and some of you might be interested in. Mostly they are traditional craft books, a couple on spirit working, and this one just because it's so much fun, The Secret Language of Birthdays. My kids bought me this for Mother's Day and I'm like, okay, cool. Right? Secret Language of Birthdays. And I had a giggle. This thing nailed my brother-in-law. Nailed my mom. Some of the, you look up basically the day you were born and it gives you a very detailed, like a horoscope of yourself. It tells you about other people who were born on that day. It gives you sort of a tagline for your day, and it gives you a run through of what your what your personality is like and who you are. It gives you numbers and planets, the tarot, health and advice, and something to meditate on. It goes through your strengths, your weaknesses, etc. And yeah, so each page has like a double layout for each birthday throughout the year. And so yeah, when you meet somebody and you find out the birthday, you can look up all about them. I thought it was pretty cool, just how accurate it was on some of the days it picked up. So if you're interested in that book, I'd actually say yeah, it's probably worth the time. I also wanted to point out again, Visions of the Kaliak by Sarita Deste and David Rankine. I did a really tiny mini like 2-book haul way back when I was having a bad day. I still haven't read it, so it is still sitting on my shelf of books to be read. I did read, it also had Horns of Power at the same time, which is edited by Sarita Deste, and I've done a book review on that since, but I still have not read The Visions of the Kayak. So that is a good one to look into. The next book I just picked up is The Cloven Stone Workings. I'm going to read you off the back because I haven't read it yet, so I'm not exactly sure, but it looks interesting. The Cloven Stone Workings is a study on the history of witchcraft from Scotland and England during the height of the witch hunts of the 16th to 18th centuries. The folklore of witchcraft and the precious information gleaned from witch trials, reports of related occult phenomena, and published accounts from the early modern era are examined, and a strange yet grounded vision for the reality of historical witchcraft emerges. So again, as somebody who's, I'm a traditional crafter, I'm a folkloric crafter, and I think that this is definitely going to bring some interest into my practice, and especially because I do work with the myths and folklore of Scotland. I thought this book was a definite winner. It's by Artisan. And he's a huge name in the traditional witchcraft community. And I also picked up another book of his, Letters from the Devil's Forest, which came highly recommended. It's an anthology of the strange, the sacred, and the forbidden. It reveals a rarely seen pathway into the world of true witchcraft, heretical spirit worship, and sorcery. So again, I just thought this looked really interesting. It's a thick, chunky one. So it's going to take some time, but it definitely sounded up my alley and something that I would be interested in incorporating into my traditional craft practice. So again, Letters from the Devil's Forest by Artisan. So that's a couple of new books I picked up. Now I have a couple books I did for school recently. The first one is The Star-Crossed Serpent 3, The Taper That Lights the Way by Shani Oates. Great book. If you're interested in the origins of traditional witchcraft, sort of as we know it today, the constructed traditional witchcraft, begun by Robert Cochrane and the clan of Tubal Kane. This is a collection of all of the letters of Robert Cochrane. The Letters of Robert Cochrane Revealed was the subtitle. I'll be honest, I had a hard time with the first, I think it's 3 chapters, which are Shani Oates's sort of introduction and a little bit about why that she put together this compilation of Robert Cochrane's letters, etc. I had a hard time, I'm not gonna lie. Her style of writing is very, I don't even want to say academic, it's just sort of off the charts. there's definitely information to be gleaned from it, but really the treasure in this book for me came from the actual letters themselves and seeing the correspondences of Robert Cochrane with his, with some of his clan members, with his compatriots, with people overseas, with Joe Wilson, who founded 1734 in the United States. He kind of gives him has some correspondence with him. I think there's 3 letters in here. And reading those letters, when I first read them, I was like, okay, this is really interesting, good background knowledge. But when this really came in handy, this book, was when I picked up The Forge of Tubal Kane by Anne Finnen. And she actually talks about founding the Roebuck witchcraft tradition in the United States. It's a folkloric witchcraft tradition. And they were inducted into the clan of Tubal Kane at one point. And when she talks in this book about the history of bringing the clan of Tubal Kane over to America and creating their Roebuck tradition and everything that they went through, it is so intertwined with a number of the people that Robert Cochrane actually corresponded with who helped her to do this work. I don't think I would have gotten as much from this book if I hadn't have read the letters and been a little bit well-versed in the history of the clan of Tubal Kane and Robert Cochrane himself. So The Forge of Tubal Kane by Anne Finnen. Again, yeah, it's about her, basically the creation, the founding of what will become the Roebuck tradition. They went over to England and met with Evan John Jones. Had a moment there. Evan John Jones, and he at the time was the magister of the clan of Tubal Kane and was able to initiate them over time and then train them by distance in the workings of the clan of Tubal Kane, which they then used in part to found their Roebuck tradition. So very interesting if you're interested in sort of, again, the history of traditional witchcraft, how it came over to the United States anyways, yeah. It's a really interesting book of, and again, not just that, but about founding a tradition of witchcraft and all of the work that went into it and all of the difficulties and obstacles I had to overcome along the way. Really fascinating work. And then the last 2 books I have to share with you that I think are great for traditional crafters, or any witchcraft practitioners, are these ones. The first one is Walking with Magical Entities. They're both by Taylor Elwood. And Walking with Spirits. I didn't really know anything about Taylor Elwood, and I was watching a video of somebody who was basically, they had a similar background to me, and they were talking about getting into spirit work and working more closely with the spirits and some of the sort of hang-ups and fears that they had at the time, and that they had mentioned that Taylor Elwood's books really helped them get over their hang-ups and kind of get more into spirit work. So I thought, okay, interesting, I'll pick them up. They're like 23 bucks Canadian, like whatever, no problem. So I grabbed them. Walking with Magical Entities is actually about creating servitors, creating and working with servitors, which is something that I do in my practice. And so it was very interesting to read and get his take on it, which is very similar to my take on it. He's got a really interesting step-by-step process for creating servitors. So I'm just kind of going through and looking at my own work through a different lens, which was really, really interesting. So if you're interested in spirit work, especially creating and working with servitors and entities, this is a very interesting book. Is a very cooperative approach. And then Walking with Spirits, and here it gets a little bit into more like the spirits of the Goetia, working with like demons and demonology, but rather than summoning demons and being like, you will do as I say, I hold, you've got to bind them, and it's about working cooperatively with spirits. So it's very interesting, a very different take. I really enjoyed it. I really like his process. He calls it experiential embodiment. And yeah, I just thought it was a really different way of looking at working with spirits, especially like the Goetia demonology, that kind of stuff, and other spirits like ancestors and deities, you name it. But it was a very different take about a lot of it. So again, if you're interested in spirit work, these 2 might be interesting to you to pick up. You can get them off Amazon. You can read all the reviews there. But yeah, I thought they were kind of interesting books. So that is kind of what's been going on with my bookshelf lately. What are you reading? What's got you interested lately? Pop me a comment, let me know. And otherwise, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys.